Hi, I'm Rhonda Bassad from the West Island News, and I'm here with Tara Stainforth, Councillor for Pointe-Claire. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good. This is our first interview together, and I'm sorry that it's under these circumstances.
As am I much prefer seeing you at charity and non-profit organization events.
Yes, it's a little bit different. All right. Last week, or this week, at the beginning of this week, you had a caucus meeting.
Yes, on Tuesday.
Where there was something said that was a racial slur. It was derogatory towards a resident.
Yes, unfortunately, during a discussion, during a confidential discussion, a slur was made, an anti-Semitic slur was made while discussing a certain dossier. When the discussion ended, I informed the person who made the slur that...
It's now public that it was
the mayor, that it was offensive and that it was derogatory, and that an apology should be issued to everyone sitting around the table. But unfortunately, at that time, the mayor didn't feel that it was a derogatory term. He felt that it was of common usage, which ironically enough, I had to Google it.
Because you had never heard it.
I'd never heard it before, but given the situation, it being a discussion revolving around a difficult situation that could be construed in a negative light, using the word Jewish attached to that right away signaled to me that this was not an okay thing to say. There's no place in any discussion to bring an ethnic group in unless we're talking about offering services to a specific ethnic group within our community, which was not the case. So at that point, I asked for an apology, and there was a refusal.
What was there? Explain how you asked for the apology. You read the definition of Jewish lightning.
Well, I didn't read anything initially. I just said that the comment that you made was derogatory and offensive, and I would like you to issue an apology to the room. I think you need to apologize. At which point he said that it was of common use and it wasn't derogatory, and I said, yes, it is. I have the definition. I can read it for you. And he said I was exaggerating and tried to shut me down, and then tried to move on to the next topic. And then I looked at him and I said, if you were an employee, you'd be suspended or fired for what you've said. And he said I was, being dramatic and exaggerating. And at that point, I said, you need to apologize. And he said, fine, I apologize for your interpretation of a comment. And I cut him off, and I packed up my things and I left.
He has since issued an apology with the Suburban. There was an article written and he issued an apology.
There was no apology. He wrote that he shouldn't have said it.
Okay, I see.
Or he commented that he's an intelligent man and he should know better, and he does know better, but no apology has been issued.
Okay, that said, when is sorry not enough?
For me in this circumstance, simply issuing a I'm sorry verbally by telephone was not enough. We were sitting in a room with employees, with other elected officials. An apology should have happened right away. There are expressions that are part of our culture where racism has permeated the culture, and we're not even aware of the expressions being derogatory, such as the one I had mentioned to you.
Off camera, we were discussing this, and Tara explained to me that
gypped.
You were gypped. You got gypped at the store. didn't get, and that refers to the culture,
the gypsies,
gypsy
the Roma culture. So, and it's something that was in common usage, and so people would use it without necessarily knowing it was derogatory. And so, I felt that perhaps this expression, even though for me it went beyond because it did say Jewish within it, I felt that it was an opportunity to learn and an opportunity to commit to doing better.
Because we do, as a society.
Yes.
I think the last few years we've learned that there is a racism issue, and even though some of us don't really feel like we're racist, we are anyway.
Right.
We haven't got our behavior in check from years of historical things that are coming forward that we don't even realize.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons why in Pointe-Claire, with the support of my previous council, I had begun the Diversity and Social Inclusion Committee, and we've committed to being anti-racist and to being introspective and reflective and to being able to offer services to all of our residents, regardless of their ethnic background, their religion, their socioeconomic status, and so we're in the midst of creating our action plan, and I chair this committee, and so I really could not accept that there was an inability to even just say, geez, I really shouldn't have said that. Like, I'm sorry, because it would have died there. It really would have, and it would have been a moment for everyone to learn and to do better and to commit to doing better afterwards. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. And then I finally said, I will go public if you don't apologize. And I was told, well, there's caucus confidentiality, so you can't. And I said, well, you said in your video from 7 months ago that, you know, caucus confidentiality didn't protect things like this. And so I still didn't name when I denounced it publicly, because I needed to let my constituents know that I wouldn't be attending until an apology was issued, a written apology, because I felt that, as you said, like, when is sorry not enough? And I felt that words out of someone's mouth that take 1 second was not enough. A written apology takes time. You have to think about what you're going to write, pen to paper. And it didn't just need to be issued to the councillors, to the elected people. It needed to be issued to our employees. They deserve better from their elected officials.
But in general, this is not the first time we've had this kind of thing happen on the West Island, where mayors fat shame people. The mayor of Beaconsfield fat shamed a gentleman on, the head of the Beaconsfield Citizens Association, he fat shamed him on social media. Sorry, I didn't mean it. I should have done better. We've had various mayors, you know, calling people liars or whatever, and it's a little bit, when the tables are turned, if the reverse happens and a citizen makes a derogatory comment or makes a racial slur, it's not the same. The consequences are nowhere near similar. They're actually legal. There's legal repercussions to anybody that says something out of line or that is defamation, or they have
Right.
the elected official in position has the power to spend the money, taxpayers' money, to reprimand the citizen. So the reverse is not happening.
I'm not actually aware of like how all of that works, but I do know that, like, we can file at the municipal level, we can file an ethics violation.
Absolutely.
Beyond that, I believe that they're the ones who then make the decision on whatever consequences there may be.
But most residents don't even know that there is that avenue to take.
Perhaps not, no.
Because the discipline, you know, it's not often that you see an elected official disciplined in any way.
No. I don't know how to comment on that,
Right.
Just because I've never been in this position.
Right. So
before.
Here we are. What is your next step? What are you going to do?
Well, my next step is I'm hoping that a written apology will be issued and that we can all learn from this, because that was really my objective, was that this become a moment for everyone to learn and to commit to being anti-racist, because the City of Pointe-Claire has made that commitment. You know, when we posted about Black Lives Matter, when we started this committee, and that's why I ran a second time. It was really to finish my work with this committee, to make sure it was up and rolling and we have an action plan. So I think it's of utmost importance that people who are in a role of leadership and power, right? And that's what we can't forget here. We're in roles of power where we need to set the example, and everyone makes mistakes.
No kidding.
I mean, I make 100 mistakes a day. You know, I have to make 3,000 decisions in an hour teaching kindergarten. And there are times where I don't make the right decision. Everyone makes mistakes, but it's about learning from your mistakes. So for me, that's really what this has been about. And it's about denouncing that kind of language and making sure that we stand up for people no matter what. And we don't just brush things under the carpet.
So what are you hoping is going to happen now?
I'm hoping an apology will be issued because I would like to return to caucus. I think it's important for me to be there. I can be briefed. That's not an issue. And of course, I do all my homework. I do my reading. But I still like to be present in the discussions and in the debates. But I can't. So I'm really hoping an apology is issued so that I can
To you
return.
or to the community?
To everyone who was in that room. And because because the mayor made it public now, I think it probably should be to the community. Initially, I just wanted an apology to our employees and to the council. because that was who was implicated in it. But I suppose now that he's admitted it was him, he should very much apologize to the community in general, especially to the Jewish community, for having used that type of language. And then I hope that we can take this and use it as an opportunity to learn and to do better and to recommit to being anti-racist and to being leaders in our community when it comes to these types of things.
Okay. What you mentioned in your Facebook post that you were considering, you were going to take the holiday season to think about whether or not you were going to stay on as council. And just to be clear, if a councillor does leave their position, there is a significant cost to
Yes.
putting somebody else in there. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It costs about $500,000 to run a full election. I'm
So
not
a by-election,
sure a by-election.
about 10 years ago was 60,000. That was 10 years ago.
So it's a very big decision to make. It's
Right.
not one that I make lightly. I cannot just walk away from this. I know the financial status of our city. I know the cost of it, and I know the delays it will cause and dossiers, etc. So it's certainly not a decision I take lightly. It's been a very difficult term. It was a difficult election. It's been an extremely difficult term.
Why is it difficult?
There has been a lot of discord within our council, and it not necessarily being on debating of issues. There have been personal attacks, etc. It's been very tumultuous, a lot of emotions. So it's been very, very fatiguing and tiring, and every week, we all sort of leave the room after having met with heavy hearts and discouraged
And you're tired.
and tired. And so as much as I know people have encouraged me, like, you have to stay on and stand up for people, and it's so important, and it really is, and that's why I ran a second time, because I won't lie, I teach full time. I have 2 kids who are very active. We have a very active, activity life, etc. So this is an extra 20-30 hours a week in my week above teaching full time. It's not always an easy job to do. I do it because I love my community. I think there's importance in being implicated in the community, and in representing females and young families, and bringing a perspective in that maybe isn't present at the table. But there comes a point when I need to think about myself and my health and
Your
my
family
family.
and your family, because you
Yeah.
do. I'm sure you do go home tired, and it's very difficult to separate the two.
Oh, there's a domino effect, most definitely.
Okay, so how do you think you could find a way to work through staying? Like, what would you like to see happen to your caucus that would help you stay?
I'd like to see a commitment to everyone being respectful within caucus. We don't have to agree, right? And that's something I've published on my page
You almost
many times.
You almost don't want to have
No,
everybody in
and
accordance. It doesn't make sense.
No, and we're all different people, right? And we've always debated. When we come out in public, oftentimes, yes, we'll all agree, but it's because we've done all the exchange behind the scenes. And we've made all the adjustments.
And you've argued it out.
And we've argued it out.
That's a piece of the puzzle that the general public doesn't often understand.
No.
That the arguing happens prior to going in.
Sometimes it's months of discussion,
Yes.
and that before it comes out publicly. And so we've brought it to a place where we can all agree most of the time to pass something. Otherwise, nothing would ever get done. I mean, if we all just brought it to the table right away and just voted on what's there, oftentimes things wouldn't get voted through. So that discussion is really important.
And often
we go
the
back and
subject
forth.
matter is also tweaked. Like,
Yes.
okay, so it was a red house. Now it's going to be a red house with black shingles or something.
Yeah,
maybe
it
you'll
could be.
tweak
It could be anything. It could be a bylaw we're talking about. We want to have words changed in it. Certain words have different connotations in the
As we know.
translation. Yeah. So no. I think that I think debate is super healthy, but it has to be respectful. And I just take some of the other councillors I've worked with now for 5 years, and there are topics we do not agree on at all. And Eric Stork, I would consider a friend, and I'm friends with his family, and his daughters babysit my daughters, and there are topics that we will fight to the death, over, and we'll never agree on them, but we're still respectful within our conversations, and we still hold each other in a good light and in a respectful way. So I think there's a way of doing that, and I think that's what I would really like to see, because I think that's the best way to move forward, and there are consequences to having having an environment and meetings where there's high emotion that is not productive, and there are things that are being said that are not respectful, because it also impacts our employees and impacts their work environment. And we've tried to shield our employees as much as possible from this the last year, but it's not always possible. They do have to sit in on meetings.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I would just like to finish by saying that I think it's really important that we all take a stand, that we listen to our ethical and moral code, and that when something is not right, not be afraid. I know it's not easy, but not be afraid to say, like, this isn't right, we need to do better. And I include myself in that, because I'm learning too. I'm always learning. And, you know, I come from a place of privilege, and that's one of the things I've said. Like, I don't have that historical burden of having been prejudiced against, like, a Jewish person. So while I can just imagine what it's like, I'll never know that feeling, right? But I can still take time to step back and reflect and think about how my actions and my words and the things we say and do every day impact people, and better ways of moving forward.
Okay, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Tara Stainforth from Pointe-Claire Council, and I'm Rhonda from the West Island News. Have a great rest of your day.